It could go up significantly. In one study, they found that it would go up to a 0.10 in 1 day or 24 hours.
And if the fermentation is not shaken, it's sort of a simple procedure, or inversed several times.
Yes, we have lab techs that don't have any college education, for example.
All right. And go much higher.
It makes it far more likely.
Opportunity. So, your job, preservative, being an expert, say it's not mixed properly, and it's not refrigerated, interpret the results. You're really going to have an inaccurate result. Would you agree? Testing device.
That potential is a lot higher. Correct.
You don't want that normally, right?
And correct.
That's where all of your expertise surrounds. Follow the test, drawing blood, so you have an accurate result. Restoring, correct?
Correct. Proper procedures.
And
correct. I am
are not only for
familiar with the procedures for. Correct. There's nationwide standards, national standards, and from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Society of Forensic Toxicologists, and the American Academy of Forensic Sciences.
And are you in a vial aware in California or in Michigan? Are you aware of fermentation or anything? Or
I know them pretty well. They're a couple, over probably 200 pages, so I don't know every single detail, and they go into very specific areas that I don't necessarily deal with.
Okay. There'll be no test.
Okay.
Do you use that in your practice of analyzing data?
Yes.
Give testimony. And after having an opportunity prior to giving testimony, the data that was applied from the toxicology reports. How many pages?
Yes, and the laboratory data supporting whatever reports were generated. Over 300 pages total.
The one page that says this is the result, and that's it.
No, anyone with Microsoft Word could generate that. It's the data that supports it.
And can you inform the jury what data you looked at prior to coming to a conclusion concerning? What are you looking for to see blood? What would you look for in the data?
There are various lab worksheets, and
maybe it wasn't done.
And then various graphs. In this particular case, the actual blood sample, there were other compounds, is depicted on what's called in the blood sample, which is a visual depiction of what was found in the blood.
And what would be the name? We did go through this with.
I'd have to look. The most significant one was acetone,
but I want to ask you,
which would be nail polish remover.
What they say. Not that nail polish remover was put in there. But is that something that's put in nail polish? Blood is extracted.
Yes, that's what nail polish remover is. The blood sample would have tiny amounts of these volatile organic compounds, such as acetone, and the amount of alcohol produced. Yes, and nationwide, you have a tiny amount of acetone, can be 10,000 times as much. Dickinson. And they are supposed to be great top tubes with preservative and anticoagulant.
Okay, and that's a private company that does accurate result.
Correct.
Would they want, and it's all the same? I mean, in other words, throughout the states.
Yes. No, you would want to throw out the testing. Because acetone apparently so, or they're the only ones that make that kind of tube.
Well, there was some testimony that would be Michigan and California both. You can have a
yes, or any other state
in the sample, and it's okay.
I would strongly disagree.
No toxicology inside out. I didn't study it. Have you ever been told the jury that it's okay to have some acetone in a blood sample? And it's accurate 100%. And what
no, and there were other volatile organic compounds in there as well. Potassium oxalate would act as an anticoagulant because when the blood, if it clots,
from what?
In a blood sample, the only way you would find them, the alcohol follows fermentation portion of the blood, and not the red blood cells. So if it clots, somebody put those, get a higher concentration, ran all those things in the instrument, and there was a lot of contamination or something. Secondly, it would have sodium fluoride, which is
Is that what I understand?
intended to inhibit
And for me,
microbes such as
fermentation
bacteria or
non-refrigerated sample
fungi
prior to testing
from converting
and/or
blood
chemical
sugars
compound
and other
inside the
substrates
testing is not shaken properly.
into alcohol. Or it can happen even with
it's-
refrigeration.
Okay.
It's an imperfect process.
And if it's not refrigerated, would that be like, and when an expiration date on milk, but you leave it outside prior to putting the blood in?
Oh, it isn't opened, the needle. Yes, correct. It would speed up the expiration of the milk.
So even though the expiration says, then the needle goes into this tube, left it outside of the sun with protection on it. Expiration doesn't matter what it says, right?
Correct. All those biological processes happen a lot faster. Typically, for forensic purposes, you would want to wipe the top of
analyzing
the blood tube you're putting it in.
Supplied to you from putting something that contaminated right into the blood. Do you think that what would be the result? What would be the reason why you wipe it?
Because it's easy to insert microbes such as bacteria and fungi into the sample. No, because there were several. It doesn't take a lot of volatile organic compounds, bacteria or fungi, to be able to alter the sample.
Combines to not giving you an honest and accurate sample.
It gives you a result that is not the same as it was when the blood was drawn.
Do you know if the second sample of the vial of blood, there were two?
Yes.
Two, right? And that's what was testified to yesterday. There's two.
It was run twice. I don't know which vial it came from, but it was run on two different, what are called columns.
Do you know if the second vial, if it was ran on that, does it show any testing on that in the records you've looked at, the second vial?
I don't know about the vials.
Okay.
I just remember the columns, and it was run on both columns.
That's what I was gearing the question to, that if there's two, which there was testimony of, and tests are done on one, do you know if the second test tube or vial was tested at all from looking at the reports?
Yes, there were two tests.
So each one was tested?
Correct.
Or at least it looks like that?
Correct.
Okay.
Or at least two columns.
Okay. And there could be two columns in one test, correct?
There usually is two at a minimum.
And then it was described to us yesterday by a toxicologist from the state that the process is that you said earlier, you push a button, you put the blood sample in, you push a button, and then it just operates on its own, correct?
Correct. It's completely automated, so most people would usually run it overnight so that you don't have lab personnel checking Facebook or sitting around.
And that's exactly the testimony was, that it's ran overnight and it's approximately 7 hours. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay. And the toxicologists, when they're running this test, they don't have any personal involvement, or they're not touching the blood or the sample or anything. It goes into a machine to keep it as clean and impartial as possible, right?
Yes, and it's all automated.
Okay. And if somebody's at a hospital, in your opinion, professional opinion, if somebody's at a hospital, would it be more accurate testing to take their blood there and have the hospital test it than to get it, shake it, it might ferment, refrigerate, not refrigerate, wait 2-3 days, and then have it tested? Would it be better just to have the hospital more accuracy, take a blood sample right then and there?
Objection, Judge. This is a leading question.
No, it's leading, Your Honor, but I'm asking him his opinion.
I'll allow the question.
Thank you.
The hospitals have their own inaccuracies just because it's done very quickly. They can't wait 7 hours necessarily for, get test results back, because the person could be.
Right. So, but you wouldn't have the fermentation taking place, is that correct?
Correct, and you always want to test it as soon as possible, regardless of where you get it from.
So would it be more accurate to have the hospital do it than let something ferment?
All things being equal, yes.
Your resume I've had marked as Exhibit 1, and I believe I'm going to move for it to be admitted, but I believe it's stipulated to already.
Defendant's 1 is admitted.
The CV, thank you. Is that true and accurate as to your?
It's admitted.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Did you give it to my clerk, please?
And after reviewing all,
Yeah, I'm gonna, for the record, any defense exhibits should be letters. This is defendant's A is admitted.
Are you marking it, Judge? Would you like me to?
I'm changing it.
All right, thank you, Judge. And in your professional opinion of all your years, of all your testing that you've done, of all the cases of, I don't know, 1,000 cases altogether, and all the forensics you've done, in your opinion, toxicology-wise, your professional opinion, are these with the acetone that developed a true and accurate result of the blood test?
No, and there were also other volatile organic compounds. And if we put the chromatograms up, I can point out the issue.
Okay. Do you have that at all in your laptop or anything like that?
I have them electronically in my iPad.
Your Honor, may he look at his records, please, to refresh his memory?
If that'll refresh your memory, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge. Please, sir, let me know when you're done.
Okay.
Please take your time to refresh your memory fully.
Okay.
Thank you. Are you prepared now to go forward, sir?
Yes.
Okay, what are other different compounds that shows in their testing?
There is acetone and isopropanol.
Okay. That's the one I had problems pronouncing yesterday, the second one. Not that it's relevant. But tell the jury about those compounds. Are those normally in your blood?
No, you wouldn't have volatile organic compounds in human blood. Alcohol is a volatile organic compound, but the only reason you have it is if somebody consumes alcohol. But normal human blood wouldn't have acetone and isopropanol.
And if normally you would have, because somebody consumed alcohol, would that, how does the fermentation affect that, or other compounds, or acetone?
Well, the fermentation greatly increases the alcohol level that you have present. It can make it drastically higher, or it can make alcohol where there's no alcohol. So they take blood samples and they see if they ferment, and the blood alcohol levels can go from 0 to a 0.10 in one day.
And if there's all these other chemicals, could it go up higher?
Well, the other chemicals are just telltale signs that fermentation occurred, because fermentation is involves the byproducts of fermentation. So you'll see those sort of things.
But you're absolutely positive before this jury that those results are not accurate according to your opinion, professional opinion, and according to the records you viewed from the state. The 0.18 would not be accurate.
Correct. It would not be accurate for the time of the time the blood was taken.
Okay. And And there's no way of knowing what would be an accurate amount if these samples were polluted or fermented.
There's no way to determine how much fermentation occurred. If you have some volatile organic compounds, you know it was far greater than the amount of volatile organic compounds, but you can't place a number on the increase, or if it went from 0 to whatever number you have, or it went from a lower number to a higher number.
And if somebody had a regular, I don't know, 6 ounce or whatever it is, glass of wine between 11 and 12 or 11 and 12:15, and a blood sample was taken, let's say 3 hours later, or 6 hours later, would it be accurate as what's being tested because acetone is in there, or fermentation may or may not be occurring?
If there's acetone present in other volatile organic compounds, that's evidence that fermentation occurred.
And it's just not good. You said, like, I don't know, drinking nail polish or having nail polish.
Correct. Nail polish remover.
Nail polish remover. And it's very, very strong. Am I correct? Alcohol base.
Sorry, what is?
It shows an alcohol base when you're testing, when you have this acetone.
Correct. There's a significant amount of 10,000 times as much alcohol created as the acetone.
Now, can you go back and prior to testing, take acetone out of the sample?
No.
Once it's in there, it's in there?
Correct. Taking it out wouldn't do anything to the alcohol produced.
Okay, so once the alcohol's there, it's there even if you could extract the acetone, its damage is done, so to speak.
Correct, because the acetone is part of the process in fermentation.
And, have you, I looked at your resume, or when I was speaking of it in front of the jury, qualifying you, is you've also been involved in breathalyzers, or, formerly data masters and things like that at the station, somebody blows into a tube and then it registers 1 or 2 amounts that may be of alcohol level. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. There was, that wasn't done in this case. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay. Would it have been a good idea to have done that?
The more data points you have, the better understanding you have of your test results.
And if there was fermentation or any pollution of these samples, sounds like common sense that you'd have the breathalyzer at the station, those results, right? If everything was working good.
Right. Those would not be prone to the fermentation errors.
Not at all, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, Your Honor.
Cross. Thank you, Judge. Mr. Okorocha, does acetone ever occur naturally in the human body?
If it does, I'm unaware of it, and the body has to get rid of it very quickly because it's toxic.
At what level is it toxic?
I don't know offhand. It would vary for each person.
You said you reviewed the lab reports and the data points from the GC.
Yes.
What else did you review in preparation for today?
There were various laboratory documents such as worksheets and chromatograms indicating the acetone. There were controls, calibrators, calibration curves, reference samples.
Did you review the police reports?
I received them, I think. I don't think I reviewed them. I was only working on the toxicology part.
Did you review the body camera footage of the blood draw?
No.
You cited a study where the blood alcohol level went up 0.10 in 24 hours. What study is that?
It's by, it was by Blume, B-L-U-M-E, and Lakatua, L-A-K-A-T-U-A.
Did you bring that with you today?
I have it electronically.
You have it electronically. Can you provide a copy to us?
Electronically.
Okay. What other publications have you relied on in preparing for your testimony today?
I guess the Becton Dickinson manufacturer guidelines, but the things I'm talking about are they're sort of common knowledge. There wouldn't be an authority on them.
This practice is accepted not only in the state of Michigan, the way the blood is drawn, the way it is transported, but throughout the country. You testified, correct?
There are national standards.
So, but the gray tops are standard throughout the country. Everybody uses them.
Correct.
Okay. And the testing is standardized throughout the country. It's done the same way here as it is in California.
No, not always. Here we are using a dual column instrument. The modern, more reliable instrument would be a GCMS, as in mass spectrometry.
What states employ GCMS?
Several counties in California. GCMS for alcohol is not as common as it is for drugs. I'm not sure offhand.
Are you familiar with the Michigan police guidelines for how many times the blood is supposed to be inverted in the tubes?
No.
No. What is, you stated that acetone does not occur naturally in the blood. What do you base that opinion on?
Well, the laboratory runs known samples of various compounds, including acetone, because they're running known byproducts of fermentation, because you need to run them to see if they're present. So if you're running them to see if they're present, you're doing that so that you can figure out if there's fermentation or not.
How often does fermentation occur?
It would depend drastically on conditions and, the temperature, the delay between testing and, between the draw and testing.
When does fermentation stop?
Usually when the microbes run out of substrates that they can convert to alcohol.
So you tested the blood here to confirm that it was higher than 0.18 that it kept fermenting, correct?
No.
You stated that you don't believe at the time of the draw her blood alcohol was a 0.18. What do you believe it was?
We can't determine the amount of error associated with fermentation based on the byproducts.
Was her blood alcohol higher than a 0.18?
Not with fermentation, no. It would have to be lower at the time of the draw.
Do you want me to take a break, Judge?
No,
Okay.
go ahead.
Is it so it's your opinion that her blood alcohol level was lower at the time of the draw?
I'm going to object. He said he doesn't know because fermentation takes place. Maybe it's speculative. What was her blood alcohol level? First of all, it's presumed something that it makes no sense. You can't speculate if there's fermentation. He said it can occur with no alcohol in your system to start with.
Judge, he's testified that he believes fermentation occurred. I'm trying to establish whether or not he believes the result is accurate. Was it 0.18 at the time of the draw, or was it lower at the point of the draw?
I think it's a fair question. I'll allow the question. The objection's overruled.
It would be significantly higher at the time the blood was collected. At the time of the testing than when the blood was collected.
So her blood alcohol increased from the time of the draw to the time of the testing.
That's what fermentation does.
And what causes this rising alcohol to occur again?
The microbes, bacteria, and fungi. Often it is a microbe called Candida albicans, which the preservative does not slow down. And the thing that's called a preservative can actually speed up fermentation with Candida albicans.
Does the Michigan State Police procedure require refrigeration of collected samples?
I saw something about refrigeration. I don't recall it well enough to give an answer.
Do you know how much defendant had to drink on that day?
I read something.
Your Honor, I didn't hear the question.
Repeat the question, please.
Do you know how much the defendant had to drink on the day in question?
No, I wasn't there. I read something in the report. It might have been 1 or 2 glasses of wine.
But you weren't present?
No.
No. So you don't have any idea if she had 1 glass of wine or 40 glasses of wine, correct?
Well, with the testing, I wouldn't say 40, but I don't know how much
So
she
with
had.
the testing, how much do you think she had then?
Objection, Your Honor. He said the testing fermentation took place. You can't guess and be speculative. What do you think she had? What do you think I had?
Judge, he said with the testing, I wouldn't assume 40, so maybe he's got an answer to this.
He's also an expert witness who can give his opinion. If he can't base his opinion on what's been presented, then he'll say something.
Okay. 40 drinks would be, even with hard alcohol, I doubt somebody's belly could hold that much.
I understand. How much do you believe she had to drink based on the testing results that you've looked at?
I cannot tell because of the unreliability of the testing.
The state of Michigan tests blood like this every day, multiple samples a day. It's your opinion that some percentage of those ferment every day?
I don't know what percentage. I can say in this case it fermented.
And that's because acetone doesn't occur naturally in the human body.
Neither does isopropanol.
1 second, please. We have no further questions. Please.
Thank you, Judge. The whole purpose of the testing and toxicology in the blood testing is for accuracy, correct?
Correct. Forensic testing, you want to get it as accurate as possible.
And from all your studies and all the cases you've worked on and all the cases you've testified in, are samples of blood supposed to be refrigerated?
They're supposed to immediately be put in a refrigerator freezer per the national standards and tested as soon as possible.
And the national standards go with the uniform testing kit, right? That applies. The uniform testing kit that company has a monopoly on.
Yes, the tubes.
And because somebody violates that, or a county violates that, that doesn't make it right. Is that correct? There's national standards.
Correct.
All right. And how many times, and does that also then apply to how many times a tube should be inverted? You had said how many times?
8 to 11.
And that's to make sure that all that powder that's stuck on the bottom is dissolved.
Is mixed in with the sample.
And is it the national standards to do it this 8 or more times?
I don't know if the national standard states the amount of times or to follow the manufacturer guidelines. I don't remember that specifically.
And what's the manufacturer guidelines?
The 8 to 11 times.
And do it less than that, you may not have accurate results.
Yes, per the manufacturer.
And that's because fermentation could take place.
Yes, and it can take place without, without the preservative, with the preservative.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Recross.
Briefly, Judge. May I approach the witness?
Yes.
I'm going to show you what is the FSD 093. This is the Michigan State Police instruction form for drawing blood.
Your Honor, may I take a look at what you're showing my witness? Sure. Thank you. Excuse me. Your Honor, I'll object because this has never been, I've never even seen something like this where I found it, and nobody's testified to it. I don't know if it's old, new, what this piece of paper is. So,
Judge, we've used it in the trial already.
Yes, and there's been testimony regarding it already. I was going to ask you if it's an exhibit because
We have not admitted it as exhibit, but perhaps we will, Judge.
Yeah. All right. The objection's overruled. It's clearly been testified to.
Excuse me. Can you take a look at that, please? Tell me if you recognize that document.
You want me to read the back of it?
I just want you to take a look at it and tell me if you recognize it. Have you seen it before?
No.
and Your Honor, also objection because he's already had his opportunity to ask him questions in cross. Now he's going into another tangent.
You were asking about the standards. I think it's a legitimate question. The objection's overruled.
Okay. You have not seen that document before, correct?
Correct.
Okay. In the state of Michigan, we talked about the actually, hold on to that for 1 second.
Okay.
If you would. The Michigan State Police has policies and procedures associated with blood draws in the state of Michigan, but you're not familiar with those policies and procedures, correct?
This is the Michigan State Police.
That is not it. This is a question aside from that document.
Oh, okay.
Are you familiar with the Michigan State policies and procedures that govern drawing and testing of blood?
Not in particular, but they're pretty standardized.
Okay. The state of Michigan, through the Michigan State Police, creates blood draw kits. We've used it in court already. This is the kit. And every kit is that form. Can you tell me what number 3 on the back of that form says, please?
Slowly invert blood collection tubes enough times to distribute the sodium fluoride potassium oxalate preservative.
Enough times? Is that what it says, or does it say 8 to 11 times?
It says enough times.
Okay. It's your opinion that the Michigan State Police policy and procedure is wrong?
No, I'm saying the manufacturer tells you what enough times is.
Judge, the people are going to move for admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 39. That is the FSD 093 form that has been referenced a number of times throughout the case.
Response.
Your Honor, I'll stipulate to that. I don't agree that that's proper, but I'll stipulate to that exhibit that it doesn't meet the national standards, according to my client.
People's 39 is admitted.
And how much were you paid to testify today?
I was paid a retainer of $5,000, and then I had expenses.
And what were those?
Approximately $1,200 total.
So all told, about $6,200?
No, I didn't get anything other than the $5,000 retainer.
No further questions.
Redirect.
Thank you, Judge. Just give a couple seconds. That piece of paper that shows you, is that from the national, or excuse me, is that from the manufacturer of, is that from the manufacturer of the biological arrowhead forensics kit?
You know, those kits are made using the Becton-Dickinson vial, and the Becton-Dickinson vial manufacturer guidelines tell you how much is enough to mix it.
Okay, do they just say, mix it enough and use your own judgment, or do they say 8 to 11?
The manufacturer says 8 to 11 is required to be enough.
Of inverting each test tube?
Correct.
Okay. And you're sworn to tell testimony today. You're sworn to tell the truth. Is that the absolute truth?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't have any other questions.
Any follow-up on this?
No, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Judge.
All right, thank you. You may step down.
Okay, thank you.
Next witness, Mr. Clovis.
Your Honor, may we approach this for a moment? Appreciate it. Thank you.